Welcome back. We've got an unveiling of a new industry today, as well as a first run of this NMG 621. The new industry is well cars for a recycling facility. And this operating session should be seems as though it would have been nice and simple. However, looking at the length of the video and how much I trim videos and everything, it did actually take quite a bit. So we've got a couple of hurdles to get through, but we just pulled on to track 1 with the well cars or the recycling containers, and we're going to get into some switching. You can see that this grain hopper here on the storage track is supposed to go over to Blue Seal Foods or Feeds and get switched out with the empty that's right there in the unloading shed. So we're gonna run around the end of our train and get that over onto track 2. And then on the CP interchange on the right hand side of the screen, you can see some slurry cars sitting there. Those are clogging up the lead into our industry, so it wouldn't be so easy to get in there and swap out the cars that we had. Should have been, but we've got, like I said, we've got the roadblocks, we've got that grain hopper in the storage track where those slurry cars wants to be, so we've got to clear out the storage track and get that grain hopper where it needs to go, leave the empty on that spur, on the grain spur, and then move the slurry cars over into the storage track so that we got the runaround cleared out. So it's a little intricate, and but it was a fun operating session, and I hope you like it. So what we're doing here is we are going to use the inbound well cars as a handle, shove down, grab that grain car out of the storage track, set it up on the other track, the behind here, track 2, so that we can grab a hold of that and get it into the grain facility. But then also we're able to push these well cars into the storage track and get that runaround cleared out so that we've got the ability to kind of maneuver. I actually find it kind of interesting on my little layout here that I've got the ability to do some not switching operations, I mean obviously switching operations, but more of like a yard type operating where you're classifying or shuffling cars between tracks, and it doesn't take much, you know. You can kind of organize a cut of cars with just simply 2 tracks. So I do feel like my little layout here does do quite a bit of utility work. So my idea for this recycling facility or industry that I'm starting to model here comes from the Providence and Worcester, and I don't know what town it is in Connecticut, but they service a recycling facility that has generally a cut of well cars and containers, double stack containers, 40-footers. But they're open containers, and they've got tarps over the top, which I've got some pictures of the prototype at the end of the video here. And then obviously you can see that these containers don't have tarps over the top, but I do have an idea of how I want to make that happen. And that's again at the end of the video, so stick around and you can see that. But for today, these are real plain, and I just kind of wanted to have like a first run. And this operating session is honestly my very first run with these well cars. So I'm just kind of like feeling it out, and honestly, it did. The operating session was pretty successful, and I do appreciate this industry. So I'm kind of a little bit more excited about it than I was, which I didn't know was possible. But yeah, no, I'm excited for this on this layout, and then also for the next one too, because these the packages that these well cars come in, instead of just being 3, which is what I can fit on this layout, they come in kits of 5 cars. So I'll be able to get a nice longer cut of well cars on my next layout. Okay, so we're just gonna pull this Comet Rice car, really old Anderson leasing now. We're gonna pull that out of the industry and set it onto track 2, and then we'll be able to shove in our newer Anderson leasing and shove that into the industry. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to put that Comet Rice car back in the spur, but that'll allow the workers in the industry to start unloading the newer faded Western Pacific car, and then but keep our runaround cleared out. I feel like my concept here with the Nutmeg Railroad is kind of it's working out. I do like the large letters on the side with a big patch, and then the black patch for the numbers. I mean, obviously the locomotives still need to get weathered up and everything, but I do with this Conrail unit. It looks good with that big nutmeg on the side. Personal opinion, but I've also got a couple of others that maybe I'll make a video about all of the units that I've got. I've got 6 all together that have the big nutmeg on the side, all in their original paint schemes, with just simply a big billboard patched out and the nutmeg on there. So maybe I'll do a video about that. I'm still a little unsure of how I'm going to actually apply the final nutmeg, whether it's going to be stenciled and painted, or which I think is probably my preference, but I don't know how that's going to turn out, or if I'm going to paint the big patch and then simply put white decals for the letters, and cut those out of just simple white background decal paper. So still undecided about that. Here we've got we've pulled out our cut of 3 cars, slurry cars, out from the interchange. And like I was covering last time with the track overview, I can only fit before the turnout to track 1. I can only fit the locomotive and 3 cars on the main line there. So I couldn't. So this sort of switching that I'm going to be doing right now, where I'm going to end up putting these over onto track 2, as you can see here, so that I can get to the well cars on the storage track. This switching, you might think, could have happened at the turnout to the runaround, but I just don't have enough space to switch out that many cars, so I've got to do it here. This does become a little tricky, simply because a normal cut of cars, those tank cars I lucked out, they're a little bit shorter, so they just clear the turnout that I've got back there on track 2. If they were any longer, I'd have to get rid of 1, and only 2 would fit back there. But I lucked out this time. So the 3 cars are just barely fitting back there. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab these well cars, use those as a handle again, and then pull those out, and then hook up to the tank, the slurry cars, and then put those slurry cars into the storage track to keep that runaround open. So here's that difficult part of parking cars, this many cars on the back end of track 2, is that the couplers naturally are not going to align very well, simply because the cars are at angles rather than being head-on. But you get in there and you kind of straighten them out and then hook up, and away you go. Alright, so that is all to both of our hurdles cleared out, and now we can finally get to the cars that we brought in and shove those where they need to be. But naturally, obviously, I'm on the wrong end of the train, and you can see here in the foreground, bottom left of the screen, where those cars are going to go. So we're gonna run around to the other end, shove those back onto the main line, get down there on the CP interchange spur, and then swap out three well cars for 3 well cars. The cars coming in are loaded with recycling materials. Those need to get sorted, and the well cars that are on the spur, that is the old team track, which is now going to be the recycling facility. Those are all empty and need to go back to wherever they got filled from. So yeah, we're just going to run around to the opposite end and get to the simpler sort of switching that we were expecting to do before we found all of the hurdles. Okay, charge the brakes, give it a little stretch, and then we should be good to go. There we go, stretch complete, and ready to shove away. You'll see later on in the images at the end that the prototype has TTX well cars, yellow, and obviously I've got these K-line dark blue well cars that I'm running around in. I actually got two kits, two five car kits of the K-line, and then you saw the clip of the TTX cars in the foreground there. Between the two, so let me actually step back real quick. Given that this is a freelance sort of idea with the nutmeg, I think I'm going to allow just simply the use of the K-line. The original plan was to just simply get the cars in and then paint them and all that sort of stuff, but that's just like, I don't know, it's just not worth it. I don't think it's too much work, especially with all of the other kind of work that I need to do. But interestingly, I won all of these kits, these 3 kits, on eBay for a pretty good deal. These 5-car kits are usually over $100 each. So, and then these K-line cars, they're Athearn, and they're beautiful cars, nicely detailed. And I was able to get them for like $80 a piece. The TTX cars, those are Walthers. Actually, one thing about the K-line cars, they're Athearn, and they're all plastic, which means they're kind of light, So I had to tighten up the wheel sets quite a bit to keep them from wobbling, and get them kind of like a little bit more stable. I added some safety striping on them as well, simply because I think the K-line is supposed to be older. I don't know. I've got to do a little bit more research into that. But so those cars, they're beautiful. But while I've been working on them, they're a bit fragile. In contrast to the Walthers cars that I'm picking up right now, these TTX cars, these are all metal cars, which they just feel so much better. They're not as finely detailed, but I don't know, for some reason I feel like I prefer them a little bit more. So I do want to get a couple of more sets of those cars, but finding them on eBay is a little tricky, because typically if you type in well cars on eBay, you're going to come up with like cars that'll fit like 53 footers and that sort of thing, which the prototype is these smaller well cars that can only fit 40 footers. So but in any case, they both run really well. They look really good. It's just a matter of personal preference, I suppose. And I think I would prefer having the metal cars, just simply because they're super durable. While I was putting the safety striping on the K-line cars, I mean, you could feel, I don't know, I felt like I was going to break them. And as a matter of fact, I did on one of them pop off the etched metal walkways off of one end of one of the cars. So you got to be careful with them. They do run well, but yeah, you just got to be careful. Anyway, let's get these K-line cars into the industry. I set them up on the spur up to Champlain Fuel, and I think that spur, this might be the way that I end up doing these switching operations over here at the recycling facility, using that spur as kind of like a set out spot for me to set the inbound cars, just like I did here. That will work as long as I don't have anything more than one tank in an off spot for the fuel industry. I checked to see if I could get two tank cars in there plus the 3 well cars, and they just don't fit. So I got to remember that if I've got more than one tank car on that spur waiting to go into the industry, I've got to do some more switching around. That's another spot where roadblocks could be for switching out this recycling industry. So I just got to keep that in mind. Okay, drop-offs are complete, so let's go assemble our outbound train. We've got to shove the TTX cars out onto the main line, and then pull them onto track 1. And then we've got to also collect that Anderson car in the background to the right. So that's going to be our lead car heading out. So and then we'll attach to the other end of the TTX and then shove back and get those slurry cars. So we've got a fairly long cut of cars outbound. Let's see here, the Anderson is 1, 3 car lengths of the TTX, and then the 3. So we've got 7 cars with, I suppose, 4. I don't know how you classify the well cars. Some people say that they're all one car, however many are on that same number. But then some people say, you gotta classify them as each individual car. But I don't know. There's 3 cars in one unit, I think, is what I'm going with. So I don't know if that if that helps clarify things at all. But so we've got 7 cars outbound, and which is a lot more than what we had coming in with. So let's get these cars into position on the runaround. Then we can cut loose of them, head over and grab that covered hopper grain car, and then we should be just about ready to go. Here's a nice close-up shot of that, of my locomotive here. I really do like this concept of like a struggling railroad that's gotten some old U-boat engines, and they're just sort of trying to fighting to stay alive, sort of thing. I think these locomotives are going to look great with the big patch, and then the whole top side of the locomotives in kind of faded and rusty with chipping paint and that sort of thing. So I don't know, the vision is to have some locomotives that seem as though they've seen some work, seen their day, and they're just sort of still out there muscling along. So but in any case, let's shove back, grab the slurry cars, charge some brakes, and we should be good to go. And with that connection, we are good to go. Let's start pulling out and run through our outbound cars. Hey, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you again next time. I'm not sure which industries we'll switch out. We'll leave that up to the dice, and maybe I'll run through my my switch lists that I make for myself, and we'll go from there. So thanks again. We'll see you again next time, and we've got some prototype stuff coming up here. So yeah, so what I've got going on for the tarps is just a little bit of styrene, really thin. I cut the width and then folded down the two sides and just simply set it on top. I don't know if I'm just simply going to paint them or if I'm going to put some tissue paper on them to make them more fabric feeling. I don't know. I gotta work that out. But I think this is a good start for the prototype that you can see here. So, all right, that's it. Thank you, and we'll see you again next time.